this is Seema Chalani, your mentor from KYMS Academy, and I welcome you all once again to this platform of learning and knowledge. Today it is 30th August and you are just 4 months away from your dream examination, that is CAT, which is going to happen on 30th November. So gird up your loins and get ready for the action. Previous year question series of CAT 23 slot 1 is going on, and out of the 8 questions of verbal section, we are already done with 4 questions, and today we are going to do remaining 4 questions which are on para jumble. So let's get started and together we make it happen. An anonymous quote: the moment you give up is the moment you let someone else win. This means that when you give up, you not only stop yourself, but you also give someone else the opportunity to move ahead and take your place. So please don't let that happen. Just keep pushing yourself forward, and every step that you are taking will bring you closer to the success. Okay, so let's start with question number 1. Basically, these are the jumbled up sentences only, but then we have to go for identifying the odd sentence. It means 5 sentences are given, out of which 4 are the part of the paragraph and 1 is not the part of the paragraph. In English, there is no systematic rule for the naming of numbers. After 10, we have 11 and 12, and then the teens 13, 14, 15, and so on. Even more confusingly, some English words invert the numbers they refer to. The word 14 puts the 4 first, even though it appears last. It can take children a while to learn all these words and understand that 14 is different from 40. For multiples of 10, English speakers switch to a different pattern: 20, 30, 40, and so on. If you didn't know the word for 11, you would be unable to just guess it. You might come up with something like 110. After reading all the sentences, we can say that the paragraph is basically talking about the lack of systematic rules. For naming the words or numbers in English. So we can say that first is going to be the introductory statement or the opening statement, right? Now, if I read sentence 2 after 1, obviously it also talks about some confusion. जहाँ पर वो बोल रहा है that the word 14 puts the 4 first even though it appears last. So how do we write 14? 1 4. But then it pronounces 4 first, 14. Okay, so again there is a confusion. It can take children a while to learn all these words and understand that 14 is different from 40. Now here in this third sentence comes the picture of some children who are taking little time in order to understand these words. Okay, so basically this sentence talks about the understanding of words by children. Okay, and how they take little time in order to understand these words. For multiples of 10, English speakers switch to a different pattern: 20, 30, 40, and so on. So again here the pattern is getting changed. When we talk about the multiples of 10, if you didn't know the word for 11, you would be able to just guess it. You might come up with something like 110. So basically, जब हम 13 बोल रहे हैं, then why not it is 110? Then why it is 11? So we can say that sentence 1, 2, 4, and 5, they are basically talking about some systematic lack of systematic rules regarding giving the names to the numbers in English. But then 3 is going to be the odd one out, because in the third sentence we are talking something from the point of view of children, that they are taking little time to understand these words. Okay, so this is something which is not going to be the part of the paragraph, and in case if you want to keep it as a part of the paragraph, it cannot come in the midst of 1, 2, 4, and 5. It is going to come at the end. Therefore, it cannot be the part of the paragraph, and third is going to be odd one out. So 3 is going to be the answer. Second question: Having an appreciation for the workings of another person's mind is considered a prerequisite for natural language acquisition, strategic social interaction, reflexive thought, and moral judgment. It is a theory of mind, though some scholars prefer to call it mentalizing or mind reading, which is important for the development of one's cognitive abilities. Though we must speculate about its evolutionary origin, we do have indications that the capacity evolved sometime in the last few million years. This capacity develops from early beginnings in the first year of life to the adult's fast and often effortless understanding of others' thoughts, feelings, and intention. One of the most fascinating human capacities is the ability to perceive and interpret other people's behavior in terms of their mental states. Now, again, after reading all the 5 sentences, here we can say that author is talking about some capacity. And fifth one is going to be the opening statement, because वो यहाँ पर बोल रहा है one of the most fascinating human capacities. So when he is saying one of the most, it means he is picking one capacity, and that capacity is the ability to perceive other people's behavior of their mental states, how we are understanding their mental state. This is one of the capacities author is talking about. Clear? So 5 is going to be the part of the paragraph. Now again, you can see in third and fourth we are talking about that particular capacity, this capacity, and then again the capacity. Now here we are talking about some evolutionary origin, and in the fourth one they are saying that it develops from early beginnings in the first year of life to the adults fast and often effortless. Okay, so it means 3 and 4 makes a pair, right? So after 5 it has to be 3, and after 3 it has to be 4, because 3 4 also makes a pair. Now we are left between 1 and 2. Now if you read both the sentences properly, and if I read the last part of the fourth sentence, it is saying often effortless understanding of others' thoughts, feelings, and intentions. So basically we are trying to understand the others' thoughts, feelings, and intentions. And if we are doing this thing, then having an appreciation for the workings of another person's mind is considered a prerequisite for natural language acquisition, strategic social interaction, reflexive thought, and moral judgment. So again, after 4, we can beautifully keep first. So the right sequence is going to be 5, 3, 4, 1. Then why we are eliminating 2? The reason is, now it is a theory of mind. We are talking about some terminology over here, theory of mind, though some scholars prefer to call it. So the scholars have given theory of mind certain terminology, and those terminologies are mentalizing or mind reading, which is important for the development of one's cognitive abilities. So in this sentence we are talking about the etymology of theory of mind. We are giving certain name to theory of mind when the rest of the sentences are not related to this one. So second is going to be odd one out, which is not the part of the paragraph. So the right sequence is going to be 5, 3, 4, 1, and 2 is odd one out. Third, algorithms hosted on the internet are accessed by many. So biases in AI models have resulted in much larger impact, adversely affecting for larger groups of people. Though algorithmic bias is the popular term, the foundation of such bias is not in algorithms but in the data. Algorithms are not biased, data is, as algorithms merely reflect persistent patterns that are present in the training data. Despite their widespread impact, it is relatively easier to fix AI biases than human-generated biases, as it is simpler to identify the former than to try to make people unlearn behaviors learned over generations. The impact of biased decisions made by humans is localized and geographically confined, but with the advent of AI, the impact of such decisions is spread over a much wider scale. Now, as you can see in this question, there are only 4 sentences. So when 4 sentences are given, we have to rearrange all the sentences into a meaningful and coherent paragraph. But when 5 sentences are given, we have to see that which is not the part of the paragraph. So now in this question, we do not have to go for the odd one, but we have to just rearrange all the 4 sentences into a meaningful paragraph. So now let us see the opening statement, or we can also do one thing, we can also go for the mandatory pair. Okay, so let us go for the mandatory pairs now. Now you see, despite their widespread impact, there is given, I cannot start the sentence with there, okay. Though algorithmic bias is the popular term, okay, here we are saying though something is a popular term, the foundation of such bias is not in algorithm. So basically the foundation of such bias is where? In data, okay. So I can keep second as the first statement. Let's see now. Okay, but I'm putting a second as the first statement over here as of now. Now, algorithms hosted on the internet are accessed by many, so biases in AI models have resulted in much larger impact. Can you see? Larger is basically what? It's a comparative degree. Okay. And if you read the fourth sentence, the impact of biased decisions made by humans is localized and geographically confined. So this sentence says that the impact of human decisions which are biased, it is basically localized and geographically confined. But with the advent means with the emergence of artificial intelligence, the impact of such decisions is spread over a much wider scale. वो बहुत ज्यादा वाइडर स्केल में फैल रहा है. And if you see sentence 1, it is basically explaining this thing, okay. So we can also say that 4 and 1 makes a pair because of the explanation technique over here. Okay, so soon after 4 it has to be 1, and 4 and 1 makes a pair. So if 4 1 makes a pair, as of now I have taken 2 as the starting statement, but I am not sure whether it is going to be 2 or maybe something else. But now let me read third also. Despite their widespread impact, it is relatively easier to fix AI biases. Now you can see over here that it is easier to fix AI biases, which is positive, and it is also a kind of solution or a remedy, okay. So when solution and remedy is given, obviously that sentence we are going to keep at the end. So first we talk about the problem and then we talk about the solution. So in 4 and 1, obviously we are talking about certain problems, and then third talks about the solution. So third I am going to keep at the end. Now, can I keep 2 at the beginning? Of course not, because here first of all we are talking about the bias decisions made by humans, which is localized, and obviously the impact of this decision is spreading over a much wider scale. So again it is going to be what? Generic, and it is going to be specific, because here we're talking about the algorithmic bias, so I cannot start the sentence with 2. Now the possibility of keeping this sentence is either here or here, okay. So now 4 1 is a mandatory pair, 3 is coming at the end. Again, if I am going to keep 2 at the beginning, it is not going to make any sense, because obviously it is what? It's a suggestion or it's a solution. So 2 will come where? Before 3. So what is going to be the right sequence? 4 1 2 and 3. Got it? Clear? The last question. What precisely are the unusual elements that make a particular case so attractive to a certain kind of audience? It's a question. It might be a particularly savage or unfathomable level of depravity. Very often it has something to do with the precise amount of mystery involved. Unsolved and perhaps unsolvable cases offer something that ordinary murder doesn't. Why are some crimes destined for perpetual re-examination and others locked into permanent obscurity? In this paragraph, 2 sentences are given which are actually raising questions. Okay, now you see beta, there are 2 things. If you come across any question, okay, if only one question is given, obviously there is going to be an answer to that particular question, right? But if there are 2 questions in such paragraphs, these 2 questions should come together, and then there is going to be an answer to these questions, okay. But if 2 questions are given, you cannot write this way: question number 1, then answer 1, question 2, answer 2. That is not possible, और इस तरह के paragraphs आते भी नहीं हैं. So as of now there are 2 conditions. One question, it is going to I mean, there is going to be an answer. And if two questions are given, two questions are going to be put together, and then there is going to be answer. So now in this paragraph, as I have two questions, okay, so either it can be 1-4 or it can be 4-1. Now we have to see whether 4 will come after 1 or 1 will come after 4. So if you read this sentence, what precisely are the unusual elements that make a particular case so attractive to a certain kind of audience? तो ऐसे क्या unusual elements हैं जो particular case को इतना attractive बनाते हैं? And why are some crimes destined for perpetual re-examination? Why do we need to re-examine any crime continuously, or maybe some crimes continuously and others locked into permanent obscurity? और कुछ ऐसे केसेस होते हैं जो हमेशा के लिए हाइड हो जाते हैं, छुप जाते हैं. ओके, तो बेसिकली ऑथर इज रेजिंग टू रिटोरिकल क्वेश्चंस. अब बेसिकली रिटोरिकल क्वेश्चंस होते क्या है? Author himself asks the question, but he is not expecting any answer from anybody, and he himself gives the answer also. तो इस तरह के questions को rhetorical questions बोलते हैं. Okay, so now I think 4-1 should be the right pair. The reason is, now which technique we are going to follow over here? It is generic to specific. Why generic? Because some crimes and then we come down to a particular case. Okay, so 4 and 1 makes a short pair. Clear? Now when he is asking you the unusual elements, so can you see any elements in any of the either of the two sentences which is remaining? So it might be a particular savage or unfathomable level of depravity. Now what is unfathomable? Something that cannot be measured, unmeasurable. Okay, and depravity is what? Depravity means wickedness. Okay, so this is obviously one element, and second element is what? Very often it has something to do with the precise amount of mystery involved. So mystery is another element. So definitely I can keep 2 after 1. So 4, 1, 2 is the right sequence as of now. Now we are going to keep third after 2 or before 4. Unsolved and perhaps unsolvable cases offer something that ordinary murder doesn't. Okay, so now if you place this sentence 3 before 4, it will not make any sense, because in a way it is also an answer to these two questions. So we are going to place 3 at the end. So the right sequence will be 4, 1, 2 and 3. Clear? So we are done with all the 4 questions of Parajumble. I hope you have understood all the questions. If in case of any doubt, you can always visit our site or give us a call on the number displayed on the screen. Till then, stay tuned with us, and if you are liking our videos, please do like, share, comment and subscribe our channel. Thank you so much. Take care.